go. Good morning to all of us. Good morning. How are you today? Are you happy and satisfied with the RSM? If you are, say, wow, RSM. Very good, because you're supposed to write that in your evaluation form. Okay. So, the RSM, allow me to reiterate the key points from the previous speakers. So, Dr. Keves of MSU said that there are key factors considered in recruiting, developing, and retaining talents. One is learning space, second is IQ and EQ criteria for vetting, third is drivers for satisfaction, and fourth is management practices and work environment. Academician Dr. David emphasized that there's really a need in making available critical mass of individuals to implement the Philippine Development Plan. And you see, if you notice, these are all focused on the faculty, right? So I am very happy and very grateful to Dr. Balmaceda, for after having some backgrounder on educational reform programs, the SDG4, which is quality education, the changes in knowledge, skills, values, attitudes of students. He was able to articulate the details of sustainable education. And I'm on the verge of tears because I was very much impressed, of how sustainable education is being articulated by Dr. Balmaceda. So thank you very much, sir, for providing and laying down the jump-off points of my sharing to you. So my sharing is another perspective. That's our school. How our school have catered the very poor students, okay, and how we are already starting to implement sustainable education. Okay, so at this point, let me introduce our school. It's very, very long. The name is very long. Then we just call it SPAMAST, but don't mistake it for SPASAM. I remember the late Cesar Pagdilao, he always called our school SPASAM. It's SPAMAST, okay? So it's a tertiary education provider and it's government-owned. And it's located in Mindanao Occidental. We also have a campus in Ligas, Davao del Sur. Yeah, our school is very small, but then I'm proud that we already start to have some best practices towards sustainable education. Okay, so this is the vision of our school. So if you notice, one of the key terms or key words is technopreneurship. So this is developing skills, and giving knowledge to our students on technopreneurship. And this is being mandated to this is cascaded, to our mandated functions like instruction, research, extension, and production. Okay, so just to backtrack on some definition of terms and some principles, innovative learning, which is actually a modality of sustainable education. So it means doing away from the traditional way, of implementing or addressing education. So it should be seen as a relationship in academic and experiential mode of learning. Okay, so there are 7 principles of innovative learning, which is a modality of sustainable education. But I would just like to emphasize on 3 principles. The first is learners have to be the center. So it's learner-centered. That's why this is the goal of our outcome-based education. The student should be the center. The second is learning is a social practice. Now we cannot remain in silos. We have to collaborate, okay? So that's why it's a social practice. And the last that I would like to emphasize is learning needs to be connected across discipline. That's why we keep on saying we have to transcend to to multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary. And all of these 7 principles can just be actually summarized into 4 C's of the 21st quality education. Okay, so what are these 4 C's? I know that you know this. 1 is critical thinking. The 2nd C is communication. The 3rd C is collaboration. And the 4th C is creativity. Okay, so let me share with you this slide. This is actually a slide from Dr. Lopez when I had my training in the Development Academy of the Philippines. So we said that it has to be, education has to be learner-centered and it has to be values-driven, okay? And there's kind of an educating learning community that has to be produced or that has to be developed. When I say community, I mean the students, I mean the faculty, I mean the stakeholders, or I mean the people that we're serving. And it has to have a purpose. It has to be serving the people and serving our country. Okay, so you see there are 3 circles, but they're not independent from each other. They're interrelated, so they're overlapping because we have to practice that all of these mandated functions should be interrelated. Okay, so there is such that there is generation of this knowledge. This knowledge should be applied, there should be application, and it should be practiced. Okay? So if you are also, if you look into the inner circles, the red ones, these are the values that we need to inculcate our students, or we as faculty also need to re-examine ourselves and contemplate. No? The 4 values should be maka-Diyos, makatao, makakalikasan, and makabayan. Okay, so I think this is very much related also to what Dr. Ruby yesterday have mentioned, that there has to be a biblical perspective, when we talk about sustainability. Okay, I'm also grateful to the Health Level Network of the UST11 that I got this slide. This is a slide that says that collaboration has to have the quadruple helix approach, meaning there should be participation of the government, the industry, the civil society, and the academia. Okay, so let me check from among of us. Who comes from the academia? Raise your hands. Okay, about 50%. Who comes from the industry? Industry, 1, 2, 3, so maybe 5%. And then who comes from civil society? Non-government organization, 1, maybe 2%. And then, of course, government. How many from government? Okay, so about 30%. So majority of us comes from the academia. Okay. Okay, so having said all those backgrounder, let me share to you what we are doing in our school, in SPAMAST. So to partially address sustainable education, we kind of established, we have a project and we have established this SPAMAST Innovative Learning and Linkage Center, or SILC. No? So this is with the purposes or with the objectives of integrating the mandated functions and expanding our services to wider span of clients. Then we also have to enhance the academic industry community continuum. So there are 2 components. One is the innovative learning and the second is the linkaging or the linkages. So the first component on innovative learning, this is the one that's very much exciting. We enhance the skills of our students through the formation and the organization of our SPAMAST Young Entrepreneurs Association, or the SIA, wherein they're being taught no? How to make tilanggi and mix it with value-added products, and they are being taught how to do business. So they are engaging in actual businesses, and they're able to earn while learning. And we also established a knowledge hub through establishment of the museum, and I think this is a very good platform for science education. So, as what Dr. Matilio said, science education is also very important. And of course, the community engagement. So, outputs of this component would be instructional materials and training modules. The other component would be the linkage. Now, where I mentioned about quadruple helix, so we were able to forge partnership with industry, no, in Davao. Of course, the government agency like the LGU specifically. For the civil society group, we have the Help Davao Network. In fact, now we are now dealing on out-of-school youth, no, for Help Davao Network. We're training them how to be good respondents for the RRM. Okay, for Help Davao Network, which has base in the US 11. Of course, for the academy, we have the UP Los Baños. That's our partner. So the outputs would be on the policy brief on the seaweed. So it's now being approved by the Regional Development Council. So there's now a policy on zoning for seaweed, and it will be acted by the local government unit for local legislations. We also have a documentary or a book on indigenous knowledge on coping up with climate change, and of course the MOU that we have forged with our partners. So at this point, I'd like to thank CHED for funding this project, but I would like to appeal to the NAS to have an influence over CHED, no, because to share with you our best practice. So before I end, I just would like to leave these messages, the three important messages. I would like to say that education or sustainable education can really indeed contribute to nation building. And that for education, they should be appreciated by our students, and they should be able to use this in life, in real life. Okay? And the last is, let's not remain in silos, let's continue to collaborate because we want to achieve and sustain education in our country. So with that, I say thank you very much and God bless everyone.